Hello, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors. And this week's contract tip has to do with the 2016 GAR Financing Contingency Exhibits and Earnest money. So, as you know, if you've been watching our series, that the GAR 2016 Financing Contingency Exhibits now have a 7-day time frame from the buyer giving notice of termination by which they need to actually provide the lender's loan denial letter. So let's back up. Buyer and seller negotiate on the contract X number of days from binding agreement date for the financing contingency. So if a buyer is going to terminate based on the financing contingency, they still have to terminate prior to 11:59 p.m. that night of that time frame, and they must provide the loan denial letter from the lender. And the lender has to be identified. That's a whole nother topic. And if you've taken our 2016 GAR contract dissection class, then you're well aware of that issue. But now in the 2016 GAR financing exhibits, the buyer now has 7 days from the date of giving notice to provide that loan denial letter. And that time frame may fall outside of the financing contingency time frame, which is fine. So the issue is, for you listing agents especially, if a buyer terminates under the financing contingency and sends you a TNR terminating the contract and asking for the earnest money to go back to the buyer because they are terminating within the time frame based on an allowed for contingency, the financing contingency, if they do, and they're asking for the earnest money to go back to the buyer, if you're a listing agent, if you don't get that loan denial letter with that termination, you might want to have a conversation with your seller about signing it until you do receive that loan denial letter. So it could be up to 7 days later that you get that loan denial letter from the lender, and then have the seller sign the release portion of the earnest money to get that back. For you buyer's agents, just know that just because you terminate under the financing contingency exhibit within the time frame, the earnest money does not necessarily have to be the release portion. There are still the two parts to meeting that contingency: the termination within the time frame and the loan denial letter from the lender. So if you're representing a seller, you probably want to wait to make sure that you get that loan denial letter still within the 7 days from their date of notice before you agree to release that earnest money. If you're a buyer, just know that if the buyer does not get that loan denial letter from the lender that time frame, their earnest money is tied up. It can't be released by the holder until they get that signed. So just know that there might be a little bit of time lag in there. So again, just a thought to bring your attention to regarding the new 2016 GAR financing contingency exhibits and the change they have made about when the loan denial letter is due and what you need to think about regarding releasing that earnest money. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.